buy it for you. You'll have the perfect ring, and I don't trust myself, blah, 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 whatever.
Why do you get the placeholder?
Yeah, or, just know your fiance well enough
Or
to
maybe
decide.
had it all planned out to wander into a jewelry store in Florida and then just like say, oh, you like that ring? Okay, I'll buy it. And then you get on your knees and say, oh, you marry me? And then she says no.
Yeah.
And then
you say, great, I can return this, right?
Yeah,
or you
do
don't
it.
even buy it yet.
Yeah,
you do it before you buy
the
it.
ideal,
Yeah.
But then that makes the rest of the vacation a little bit uncomfortable, of course. But at least you saved a lot of bucks by not buying the jewelry.
Yeah. Well, so regardless of the ring.
Sorry. We
that's okay.
did it again.
I hear what you're saying, but the first time I saw it said was from his brother, and it's my understanding that he had talked a little bit about it when he was out to dinner with his father on the 31st as well.
Okay.
But yes, I agree. And also it was a little weird to me because they'd only been together for a year.
Yeah,
but 27.
That part doesn't bother me. It's the lack of the ring.
That bothers you? Okay, sure.
Yeah, the no evidence of the actual intention to make it happen.
Neither one
bugs me.
Neither one bothers me at all.
I guess, I was going to say either way, it doesn't really matter because they'd planned to go to Miami for a week together. They were in a serious, committed relationship to each other. That's really all I guess we really need to know about it. Anyhow, Brian's father, Randy, came into town to visit and celebrate spring break with Brian. Is always how you will see it reported, that they were there to celebrate spring break. I really think Randy was just thinking, you know what, my wife just died. I really care about my son, and I care about both of my children, and I just, I want to see him. And this is a great excuse.
And maybe he wanted to see how he was doing.
Yeah. See how he's doing, spend some quality time with him, knowing he was going to leave for a whole week.
Yeah.
Just a couple weeks after his wife and Brian's mom had passed away.
It's
just kind
a
of
check.
Yeah, I think it's a check. It's a check and also just a nice time to see him. So they went out to dinner that night, or that evening, I guess, to a steakhouse. It's not really clear what time it was, but I do think it was like evening time, like 5, 6 o'clock at night. Randy said that it seemed like Brian was tired.
Finals will do that to you.
Yeah, it sounded like he had been pulling a lot of all-nighters for exams that were coming up.
I could never do that.
It's not a great idea.
I was really good at the all-nighters. It was the staying up for the exam the next day that was really hard for me.
It's easy to stay up all night, but then actually being able to actually think coherently during the exam, that's kind of tough.
And here's the pro tip for all of you listeners who are still in school. It actually is scientifically proven better for you to sleep because your brain will actually retain the information.
Yeah.
So go to sleep. Stop listening to us. Go to sleep. Wake up for your finals tomorrow. You're going to be fine.
I had a cool hallucination in a final exam one time from pulling an all-nighter. But that's a whole nother
I was going to say, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at CrimeCon.
Yeah. Randy said in interviews after Brian disappeared that he remembered feeling like he didn't think Brian should go out with his friends as he'd planned later that night because he seemed so tired. But he didn't say anything because, Brian's an adult, which I think is fair.
Totally. Yeah, that's it. But, when you get out there to the bar, the loud music and the booze is a big energizer for me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah.
Yeah,
it
in the beginning,
yeah.
It's an energizer.
At the beginning, yeah. And, usually at that age, 3 years ago,
you old lady,
you have some coffee or, an energy drink or something like that sometimes to help you out a little bit.
Yeah, he probably was drinking Red Bulls or something.
Yeah. So Brian goes out. The main friend that he's with is named William Florence, but this guy's nickname is Clint, so we're going to call him Clint. Brian met Clint at the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
A nice name, huh?
I'm going to call it that, the full name every single time.
Yeah.
Ugly owners.
Yeah.
I think
beautiful fish.
I think it's tuna-phobic. I don't think we should use it.
They met at 9 p.m. that night and then started bar hopping down kind of a main drag street.
Yeah, it's a college town, right?
Yeah.
So there's lots of bars.
Clint says that at each bar they took a shot, then moved on. At about 10 p.m., Alexa says Brian called her because she was visiting her family about a couple hours away before
Toledo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is like a 2.5-hour drive from Columbus, where they were, or outside of wherever or Ohio State University is. I think actually in the beginning of this I said it was University of Idaho or of Ohio.
Wow, you are just putting every state school in
batting 1,000 here, man. It's good. Anyways, it was actually OSU, so sorry for that earlier. Anyway, Alexa says that about 10 p.m. Brian called her because she, like we said, she was visiting her family, just to say that he loved her and was he was out, and he would see her.
Yeah, it was like an
Oh.
hour into the night, I think, is where I've seen it. So he must have started drinking around 9 o'clock.
They were, they have that timestamp. Clint said they met at 9 p.m.
Right.
and then they started bar hopping. And, I suspect she was probably thinking, like, I'm going to go to bed soon. And he called her to say goodnight, and he loved her, and he was going to be out.
And after a drink or two, you're totally
You get real lovey.
Hey, babe, love you.
Yeah.
Well, he
Love
was
you so
probably,
much.
4 or 5, like, hey, man.
he was
love
probably,
you.
I'm figuring he probably had about 12 shots under his belt by this time. That was a whole hour. So,
I don't think 12 probably, but...
No, but
Anyway,
okay, that's ambitious,
an
I guess.
unspecified time after midnight. I think it's close after midnight, but it is never actually specified. Clint and Brian run into one of Clint's friends named Meredith Reed, who then gave them a ride back to the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
Meredith is a guy, correct? I believe, because Meredith is one of those names that can be a male or female, and I'm pretty sure it was a guy and not a girl. But
Oh, really? I always thought it was a girl. Yeah.
Well, see, I was like, oh, it must be a lady, but then a bunch of stuff that I read gave me the impression that it was all the guys going to the last bar.
Really?
This is very odd. Here's what I'll tell you is I watched the crap out of the surveillance
And
tapes.
you can't tell.
Well, and I can't. Well, the surveillance tapes are really good, but Brian is standing in front of Meredith
Right.
and
So you can't
walking,
tell.
and so you can't actually tell. So I.
How tall is Meredith, do you think?
Well, I don't know. That they are standing on the step below Brian,
Uh-huh.
and Brian was 6'2", so I don't know, not taller than 6'2" plus 5 inches.
Uh-huh.
So I
Not sure.
am not sure.
Okay. I believe it's a guy, but again, that's not 100% positive because there's so much weird reporting on this one.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is I've never seen it. I don't think I've ever seen it specified. I'm like racking my brain.
Okay.
So I'm really sorry, everyone. I'm going to admit there's a lack in my research.
Sorry for
I,
causing the brain spasm.
Yeah, but
I actually think it probably is a female type person, just simply because I have an eye for this sort of thing. Like if like say on the Wikipedia page, Meredith would have been referred to at some point as him or he or something like that.
And,
No.
yet
And that would have
Meredith was
jarred
my
never
brain.
referred to
It
in
never
any
is.
way on the page.
Never
That's
is.
the problem.
it's either
All of the
Reed
reporting.
Uh-huh.
as in the last name or they
Well,
as in the he
the
and
group.
or she that person and Clint.
It's
Okay.
it's always very gender non-specific
Yeah.
All right.
is what's bungling all
Yeah.
of
well,
this.
we're gonna make Meredith into a girl here, I think.
I think we're just gonna call Meredith and Clint.
We're gonna let Meredith stay gender non-specific the
Yeah.
way Meredith likes it.
Yeah. Anyway, Meredith gave them a ride back to the Ugly Tuna Saloona, where they all planned to end their night, then go home. Brian reportedly got separated from Meredith and Clint at this spot. The bar closes at 2 a.m.,
Normal, yeah.
which is normal. So Clint and Meredith figured they'd wait outside the only exit from the assumed that when they'd been separated from the bar, Brian had just left without telling them. You know, he couldn't find them or whatever. The next morning, Alexis tried calling Brian but couldn't get a hold of him. His phone went
That's
straight
Alexis, his girlfriend.
to Alexis, his girlfriend.
Yeah.
She said his phone went straight to voicemail. She just assumed he was, sleeping it off, and so she tried it again later.
Yeah.
Finally, on Sunday, when she still couldn't get a hold of him, his phone was still going straight to voicemail. She called Randy, Brian's father, to see if he had heard from him, and he hadn't, so they then called the police. Reporting varies on this. According to Alexis, on some news reports that I watched, they reported Brian missing Sunday. Wikipedia says that Brian was reported missing on Monday after he missed the flight to Miami. I don't know which is true. I would tend to believe Sunday,
I know it was at least a day or two.
but it was a couple days at least.
It took
Yeah,
a couple of days.
yeah.
And by the
Because
way,
Friday night was the night that
and this is something as it's not outrageous, but I think it's a little odd that Clint didn't call him the next morning and just say, "Hey, what the hell, dude? Where were you?" Just to see that he's all right. You know?
Well, I don't know that he didn't. Clint is like after that night. Clint is
He
just
won't say anything, I know.
disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah.
He won't say anything.
I think Clint's just trying to protect himself from the court
yeah.
of mass negative appeal.
That it doesn't necessarily mean he's guilty of anything. No.
Yeah.
But,
No.
yeah.
Either way, Columbus police did get the missing persons report, and they acted, and totally reasonably. First, they checked with local hospitals and homeless shelters to make sure he hadn't shown up any of those places like you would expect them to. That would be, the first place you would expect them to check.
Right, because people don't understand why the cops do that, because if somebody gets, let's say, whacked on the head and gets a concussion, they can be in a weird state. Remember there's that, for us in real time, the report of the guy who was on the East Coast, went skiing, apparently took a tumble, and they found him a week later in California in the same clothes with no memory of how he got there? I mean, that's why, but people are always like, why'd they check those places? That's why.
Well, the hospitals, just because, he could be unconscious in a hospital, but a homeless shelter, anywhere that somebody could be warm and get services, pretty much they're going to check because for whatever reason, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah.
From there, so obviously Brian was not found either of those or any of those places. So then from there, the investigators starting to put together a timeline, basically the timeline we just talked about a minute ago of what Brian had been doing. The only additional detail that Clint and Meredith were able to provide is that they thought they'd seen Brian chatting with the band.
Yeah, and I thought that I read in one place, again, you read in all kinds of different accounts, but he had said to them, hey, I'm going to go talk to the band, and that's the last word they heard from him, is he said he was actually going to go chat with them.
I don't know how much.
And being a musician, I'm not surprised. I heard that this was late, and they had actually stopped playing, and they were starting to break down. Mm-hmm. And so maybe he just wanted to go talk about guitars for a little bit.
Or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if Brian said that to them or they just saw him over there or what, but it does seem that Brian was chatting with the band at least at one point. Mm-hmm. When interviewed, the staff at the Ugly Tuna Saloona were totally unable or unwilling to provide any helpful information, though it seems they were reasonably cooperative.
It was a bar full of people. How are you going to pick
on the first night of spring break?
Yeah, I'm sure it was a zoo in there. So.
Yeah. I had the same thought when I saw the footage with the security guards. Like, those security guards here. No, they just saw a billion people come screaming through.
Yeah, and realistically, Brian isn't an insanely...
He's not
really unique looking.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good-looking guy, but
he didn't have a horn growing out of the middle of his head, so he stood out in the crowd.
6'2", reasonably built white dude with brown hair. I mean, unless you're paying attention, really paying attention and looking for him,
Yeah, he's kind of actually, you look at Brian, you think, he's really all-American looking.
He is the all-American boy.
He is.
But here's what I'll say is that in Ohio, there's a lot of all-American boys.
Oh, are there really?
Yeah. The police started searching the area around the Ugly Tuna Saloona. They checked all the dumpsters in this kind of back alleyway. They were hoping to find any kind of clues. There were no clues whatsoever. They searched the rivers and the entire campus of Ohio State University with search dogs and didn't find anything.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
I've not seen this. One, do we know what day garbage day was for those dumpsters? We don't. Okay. No. I've never seen it reported, but that's why I'm asking.
And nobody seems to know that one. There's a lot of people who theorize he wound up in a dumpster and wound up going to the dump.
That happens, sadly, to a lot of people. But my other question is, because we get just basted about this, what kind of search dogs did they use?
Yeah, like cadaver dogs versus sniffer dogs.
Right.
Versus,
It was tracker dogs.
Yeah.
We know that for sure? Fairly certainly?
I would say, within a reasonable...
Okay. When I was looking, I could never figure it out, and because we.
The reason that I presume that is because they also. I was going to save this for a little later, but they also searched. They had the dogs come in and sniff around the bar to see if they could track Brian from the bar, and they were unable to do that
because they got sidetracked by the jerky martinis.
Probably, yeah. But I presume they used the right kind of dogs.
Okay.
Although
I would assume
so as well. But
I had heard some rumor later, though, that they came back later. There was a construction site right next door, and then one of the theories is he fell into a big hole.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
But they came back with cadaver dogs and supposedly got a hit there.
Oh,
but again, you hear a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's I hadn't heard
super
that,
popular case.
Yeah, so they didn't find anything. Then the police decided, well, there is some surveillance footage.
All over town.
Well, and also specifically in the Ugly Tuna Saloona entryway. Therefore, I guess we can, sit an investigator in here and to review the 12 hours of video surveillance footage to see if they can see anything worthwhile. So we'll pause here because I don't think that we've described how the Ugly Tuna Saloon is set up.
This is really important.
It is actually
this
very
case
important.
was dumb to me until I figured out
Yes.
how the Ugly Tuna Saloon
Yeah,
was
it
organized.
is really, really important. And the reason that I say this is because eventually the investigators were able to even see where Brian, Clint, and Meredith had parked, how they walked from the parked car, like even to the point of which of the support beams they walked past, up through a little corridor
They
area.
fully tracked their
They could
movements.
track them all the way into the Ugly Tuna Saloon, but there were no surveillance cameras in the Ugly Tuna Saloon.
Yeah,
So
they actually did touch the street. It's not like they parked in a parking garage and came through the back door into the mall and into the bar, right?
they didn't
actually
touch
had
a
to-
street. So there's
They
a...
came through the mall area then?
Well, I guess you'd call it a mall area,
It's
but it's
kinda
like an
like that.
open...
Do we just want to start explaining how this whole place is set up? Because that might be the easy to lay the groundwork.
Yeah,
and then
that's probably the
explain
easiest
their
way.
route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a mall area in that like
It's
a like a square area. Kind
Yeah,
of.
it's not like private, closed off to the public, but it's not. It's pedestrian only.
But it's open air.
Yeah, but it's open there. It's between High Street, you know, which is like on one side, and then there's another sort of alley behind there, and there's like a block-long thing, which is kind of mall-like with a lot
Open
of bars.
plaza-ish.
Yeah,
and
like a
theater
plaza.
and restaurants.
It's
and,
wider than a street
but,
would be.
yeah, pedestrian only.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. You know,
It
you
is.
can go to it on Street View. It's got all kinds of cool stuff, shops and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Ugly Tuna Saloon is on the second floor of one of these buildings.
Yeah.
And this is very important because it means there's just one way in and one way out. And that way was under surveillance.
Yeah.
There's a set of stairs and an escalator that goes up and an escalator that goes down.
And that is all fully covered
And
by
it's
the eye
fully
of the camera.
covered by one not moving eye of the camera. You can see everybody who walks up and down the stairs. You can see everybody who comes up and down the escalators. And unlike most surveillance cameras, this one's pretty HD.
Pretty high tech. Yeah.
You
high
can
res.
definitely, I mean, I was watching, the way that I got to see the surveillance footage was from somebody pointing a camera at their TV
Yeah.
at whatever the NBC Dateline, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head. And I could still very clearly identify the person as Brian Schaefer, that, you could see kind of being tracked on this. No red circles or anything like that. So if it was good enough through the 5 steps of somebody filming their TV with something and then
sure.
uploading it onto YouTube, definitely.
Yeah,
if you were,
I think most of us are used to the security cameras that take
like on an ATM or something.
2 or 3 second stills, after 2 or 3. No, this thing was shooting continuous video.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a back emergency exit on the first floor. I'm not totally clear how one accesses that emergency exit, but I will say that emergency exit, I believe, is rigged to alarm when opened, which sometimes malfunctions, or they might have turned it off because it might have also served as a loading dock.
Like the way for the band to
Yeah.
get in and out.
It's possible. It's unclear, but possible. And there's a motion sensor camera back there as well that turns on anytime there's any motion back there. And then it's reportedly zooms in kind of where a reasonable range of a head would be, so you can see a face of whoever is coming out. Because, you're not supposed to use those exits but for emergencies.
So
but
they want to know. But I had heard also there was an employee exit on the south side of the bar.
that is,
and then
it's
some
my
back
understanding
stairs.
that is the employee exit
Yeah.
that goes to that emergency exit down there.
So it's like stairs that go to the emergency exit on the ground floor. Okay.
Right, but I don't really know how.
We've-
I don't know if it's you have to go through the kitchen and the bar and 3 other rooms to get to that staircase, or if it's just through some curtains that say emergency exit. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the difficulty is they haven't published a floor plan.
Right.
It would be nice to have one of
Yeah,
those.
that would
It
be
would,
great. Google,
yeah.
would you get on that?
yeah, really.
Mapping the bottom of the ocean, but they won't map the inside of a bar.
I know.
Well, it's just kind of like the bottom of the ocean. It's the Ugly Tuna Saloon.
Good point.
Also, as Joe kind of briefly mentioned
Well,
before, at the time of Brian's disappearance, there was also a number of construction exits in that building as well. So you come up, to the Ugly Tuna Saloon,
Second
and
floor.
on the second floor, and there's kind of an entryway, area. It's not just like straight to the doors. There's a little bit of
It's got an open atrium kind of area.
a little bit. It's
like
not huge.
There's like a theater off to your left, right, and then there's like a hallway ahead of you, I think.
I don't think the theater's on that one. No, the
I don't
theater's
think
in a
so.
different
Theater on
area.
the first floor.
I think
Yeah.
All I've seen is somebody posted a video, and it's another one. The feds, if Congress wants to do one useful thing, they can ban portrait videos. So somebody doing the whole freaking holding my iPhone up, doing a portrait video of going up riding up the escalator to the top at the Ugly Tuna.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so you can see what it looks like. The bar's off to the right, straight ahead. There's a short, wide hallway, that maybe goes to bathrooms or storerooms or God knows what. And there's something off to the left. You can't really tell. It looks kind of mall-like.
so from the camera angles, from the surveillance camera angle, the escalator comes right up. There's like a wall that it comes up, and it goes straight into the Ugly Tuna Saloon, basically. There's like a little, I don't know what to really call it. I guess atrium is a fine thing. And then, so the camera's looking down towards the outside.
Security camera.
The security camera. So the escalators are coming up on the, what would be the right side, but is on the left side. And then the stairs are on, like, right next to it, to the right. And then the construction area is further to the right.
Yeah.
So it would be to the left.
So I think what Joe
real
was
thing.
describing,
But it may be that it was post.
talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm not really clear on what kind of construction they're talking about, because like when this is kind of a mall, and in a mall there's the original construction where you pour concrete and everything and put on a roof, and then there's always when some tenant leaves and you rip out the walls and you reconstruct the whole thing. You've seen that going on in malls, right?
Yeah.
So is that the kind of construction we're talking about? Or are we talking
not
about
clear.
a serious heavy duty concrete slabs kind of?
Not clear.
Yeah.
Unclear.
Okay.
But through this construction site, which I understand was kind of hard to navigate even in the light, and had lots of construction-y hazards.
Actually, now that I think about it, whoever it was, Dateline or whoever it was, showed some footage of the quote-unquote construction-y area, and it almost looked like a back section. You know how you see where there's all the pipes for like malls, all of the plumbing runs through one area?
Yeah, but I wasn't clear if that was
I was going to say,
B-roll.
I don't know if that's actually that site or not, but it
Yeah.
really gave me the impression that it was more of they were doing construction on that internal plumbing stuff and not a tenant's location like you were talking about, Joe.
Okay.
But regardless, it's the only way in or out of this whole area is through that one camera surveillance thing, or through the construction zone at the time that Brian Schaefer went missing.
Probably that's because they'd torn out a wall and had built a new wall.
But it
like
was full construction zone, plywooded off with like a door into it, and then tons of hazards.
Somewhere you don't want a drunk to go wandering, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And one that you would presume would be locked at night when it's like nobody needs access to it. But
you would
hey,
think so.
who
But
am
maybe
I?
somebody had a key.
Yeah.
So the guys arrive back at the Ugly Tuna Saloon.
Yep, at midnight. Back to the tracking thing. They arrive back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon at about 1:15 a.m.
Okay.
According to the surveillance camera footage that I was watching, the timestamp on it, and the reporting. Though I guess they were bar hopping with Meredith a little bit before they came back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon.
Or they drank with Meredith wherever. Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. And then about 40 minutes later, Brian is seen on the same surveillance camera at the top of that stairs escalator area. Like I said, the quality is really good. You can see it's definitely Brian there.
He looks a little intoxicated in
He
his
doesn't.
movements.
He does, but he doesn't look like sloppy drunk.
But he
Yeah.
He
looks...
does not look sober.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's been drinking for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, and
He's definitely been drinking for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But he's not like, falling all over himself. He's still able to walk and
He's able to
apparently
hit on the
talk
ladies.
and apparently not be so drunk, because there are also 2 security guards standing at the top of the stairs. So he's not so drunk that they felt like they needed to intervene.
Yeah, I noticed that in this video I was just telling you about. You go up there and there's a security guard standing right there. It's like, what a great job that must be. But they got him right there.
Yeah.
Is that so they can see the drunks coming right up the escalator and just intercept them before
I have
they
no
even
idea.
get to the bar and turn them around and shove them right back down the downstairs?
I have no idea. I
Yeah.
really don't. But yeah, there were 2 security guards up there. And then there are 2 young women that he can be seen talking to. And there's a group of guys as well, kind of off to the side.
Some people milling about.
Yeah, and and some people say, oh, these guys followed him in and beat him up, but they seem to be standing there. They don't seem to be making movement to follow him or anything.
Acknowledge his existence.
Yeah, but he talks to these two young ladies for a minute, and then he walks back into the bar, and that's the absolute last time that anybody has ever been able to say they've seen Brian Schaefer. Officially. Well, not officially. It's the last time that anybody's ever come forward and said they saw Brian Schaefer.
Officially as in on tape, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah, I mean, but nobody's ever even claimed to really see him after that. I mean, that's the last time that anybody's ever said anything about Brian Schaefer existing in this world.
So
that was at 1:55 a.m.
But this would be before he went to talk to the band, right?
I don't know. That's unclear.
Okay,
the
yeah, you're right.
Conversation could have happened.
That could have happened
he
before
wandered
that.
outside.
Yeah. So it was my impression that Meredith and Clint lost track of Brian pretty quickly after they got back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon. So probably like 1:30-ish would be my guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing, just throwing out numbers here. And then he could have gone out, or it could have been then. But the bar closed. They left the bar. They actually got their scene going back to their car at 2:07. So that's a pretty quick time for them to be like, oh, we lost track of him. Okay, we'll see him coming out. And then wait 5 minutes and then say, oh, okay, whatever. He just went home.
Yeah, you're right.
Drunk impatience.
I guess, but I
They didn't go inside the bar or check the bathrooms or anything like that?
No. So that's why I think they lost track of him much earlier in the night, because it makes way more sense, even in a drunk brain, for them to say, we haven't seen him in a half hour. He probably just went home. He was tired. Versus we saw him 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Whoa, I wonder where he went. He just must have gone home. It's fine. That's my 2 cents.
Still, man, I've heard that in 2006 that was kind of a bad neighborhood, and they really probably shouldn't. They should have checked a little more thoroughly.
Probably, but they were also drinking and they were
drunk and they were young and irresponsible. I get it. Yeah.
So that's everything we know for sure about Brian Schaefer.
Well, okay then.
So we're going to talk about theories, but first we're going to take a break.
Hello and welcome to Spontaneous Poetry Night here at Thinking Sideways Studios. Up first is the master of terrible and amazing, or amazingly terrible, puns. Me. Skyscrapers are tall, embankments are small. There is only one true ring to rule them all. Wait, that's wrong. Sorry, hang on, let me start again. 1,000 bad guys' bullets fly, but none of them hit our good guy. A hero's bullets barrel forth. Many enemies end up with their heads facing north. No, that's not right. All right, here we go. Thor's hammer is huge, and so is that dude. Wait, I don't even know where the hell that came from. Let's try this one more time, because I think I've got it. The feds may have known what trouble was brewing and stewing, but unfortunately they did not know what they were doing. Ha! I nailed it! What the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, that has to do with the new show coming out on Hulu, The Looming Tower. The Looming Tower is based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning book by Lawrence Wright, and this limited series traces the rising threat of Osama bin Laden and how the rivalry between the FBI and the CIA may have set a path for the events of 9/11. Starring Emmy winner Jeff Daniels, Golden Globe nominee Peter Sarsgaard, and Tahir Rahim as Ali Soufan. The Looming Tower is available only on Hulu, so go there and check it out.
And we're back. Our first theory
Yep.
is aliens abducted him.
Okay, I can get behind this. Flesh this out for me.
It's unlikely.
Okay. You're just jerking my chain.
You don't think so?
As soon as I get on the alien bandwagon, she jerks the rug out from underneath me.
Well, if you look at pictures of the Ugly Tuna Saloon, the building it's in, it actually looks kind of like a spaceport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
so
I mean...
I could totally see a little mix-up with the aliens there.
Yeah. Honestly, though, for all we know, somehow, without anybody else noticing, Brian Schaefer was abducted by aliens from the Ugly Tuna Saloon after 8:55 a.m. the night of March. Well, I guess by that time, April 1st, 2006.
8:50? You mean 1:55 a.m.?
Yeah, what did I say?
8:55.
Nah,
It's fine. So what you're saying is that somewhere he is currently drafting crop circles for the aliens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Why not?
I think because it's silly. That's
Probably not that one. Yeah.
Actually, he'd be a high value one for the aliens.
Yeah, probably.
Because he has medical knowledge and stuff, so it makes sense.
So he is now in charge of the probe program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's their lead scientist on medical humanoid research.
Yeah,
He's on the bottom of the chain.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
More seriously, the next theory is that he left to start a new life or otherwise take a break. I mean, I can
Check out.
I can kind of see this one. For one thing, no evidence of a crime has really ever been found. The police brought in crime scene experts and dogs to see if they could find blood or anything to suggest that Brian had been harmed in or around the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
Yeah.
Didn't find anything.
Although, especially if he'd been murdered in the kitchen, the nice thing about murdering people in an industrial type kitchen, commercial kitchen, you have to clean it every day anyhow, thoroughly, and so it's a great excuse to go, whereas if I cleaned my kitchen, that would be suspicious.
Sure. Well, if you cleaned anything, it would be suspicious. But but one thing I will say is that in a kitchen at a pub, at a place like the Ugly Tuna Saloona, not much blood usually
I don't know how
hanging
much
around there.
bloody beef they actually
No,
serve
it's
Well-
there. Yeah.
pre-frozen food.
Probably.
Well, even if it isn't, this about the meat that we get in America, it doesn't ever have actual blood in it. It has that thing that it secretes is something totally different. It's
Yeah.
not actually blood. It's been drained of blood. So if there's blood in the kitchen, either a chef was real bad at doing his job and cut himself,
Yeah.
or somebody was murdered there. Either way, there was no real evidence of that in or around the Ugly Tuna Saloona, as mentioned. So, so in that respect, it does kind of speak to him just walking away.
And starting a new life.
Yeah. On the other hand, like we said, search dogs couldn't track him out of there, which seems like they would have been able to do had he just walked out on his own. Also, no activity on any of his bank accounts or his cell phone has been reported, nor
But
did
if
he
he-
take out cash.
But if he went off to start a new life, of course, he would have all new bank accounts and credit cards already set up.
Sure.
Yeah, in theory. Although you would
Theoretically.
think he would have cleaned out the bank accounts. And
You would
taken
think that,
with him.
yeah. And apparently he wasn't really a cash guy. He didn't really carry cash with him, which is like most of people in our generation. So his ability to survive without accounts seems unlikely.
Yeah, you millennials, you flail with cash.
Yeah.
How do you
true.
do it?
Plastic and Bitcoin, mostly.
How many bitcoins? do you-
Cryptocurrency all
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
How many bitcoins do you have in your wallet right now?
About 0.00005 of a Bitcoin.
So you're practically a millionaire then.
Yeah.
I mean, they're worth a lot right now.
Oh, wait, I have $1.
You have
No, wait, $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I'll mention here is that Alexis did make a habit of calling his phone a lot. I think she even said it herself. She just wanted to hear his voice, which I think is understandable.
Yeah.
She said that one time she called and it rang instead of going straight to voicemail. Singular, that's how old this case is. Brian's then cell phone provider said that it was a fluke. We've talked about this on the show before, that oftentimes a phone will return a ring while it's trying to connect.
Yeah, it doesn't always.
It's not actually ringing to the phone.
One of the things that I've wondered about with this is how long did these calls that Alexis made to him? How long? Because I had heard it went on for like 6 months or more.
Yeah,
that
I
she was
think
calling
so.
the phone.
Yeah.
So who was paying his phone bill?
I think his
time?
dad was paying him the entire time. I don't think
really?
he was paying for his own phone bill. That wasn't the impression I had, at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So somebody kept just maybe
Well-
hoping
Might
that
have
he
been a
still had
family
the
plan.
phone on him or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I presume it was probably a family plan.
Yeah.
I was on my parents' family plan for a long time.
Yeah.
She still is.
Well, especially when your kids are still in school. That's the way
It's
to
an easy
ensure
way to
that they
show
can always
support
call. Well, but
financially.
also to ensure they can always call you.
Yeah.
They don't have an excuse to not call you. But I would, if my child went missing, I don't have any children, but if I could put myself in those boots, I would keep paying the plan if I had no idea where that kid was, dead or otherwise, just on the hope that maybe one day they'd turn it on and call me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,